All right, here we go. Bucks at New Orleans, trying to bounce back from that terrible Monday night football defeat at Detroit. Short week, very little practice, a lot of guys hurt. Let's look at the injury list the other day. I think they may have 20 players on that thing, man. I mean, I know it was a walkthrough, and so they're kind of projecting who would have practiced and who would not have. But holy cow, I have done this more than I want to admit to. And I'm telling you, Steve, I've never seen a season with this many injuries. And I don't know that it's specific to the Bucs per se. Certainly the Bucs, I don't remember them having this many, but really kind of feels that way around the league, to be honest with you.
Well, I remember like the Lions last year had a ton.
Yeah, that's true.
Particularly on defense.
And they lost their whole secondary before they played Monday night.
The Niners the last 2 years have had a ton. It's the hard part for the Bucs is that you're getting them in clumps of positions, which is always what makes it difficult.
Yeah, that's what hurt you.
You know, you got the offensive line. You know, you're still out without Gedeke, and you've got Cody Mauch's out, and you had Wirfs out for part of the season, and
yep.
you go through that, and then the receivers, of course, Mike Evans and Godwin, and
and defensive backs for a while. You didn't have Jamel Dean. You'd have Ben Morrison,
Yeah, it's always hard when you get them in the same positions because there's with the salary cap and the way they're, you just don't have depth.
Yeah, it's true.
Guy goes down, next man up, but when 2, 3, 4 go down, it's like you don't have 2, 3, 4 next man.
Well, you're going to rookies. You're going to guys that haven't played.
Right.
That's the problem, and people don't really realize this too. But like even this week, so without Haason Reddick, that means Anthony Nelson is going to be counted on to either start or play a hell of a lot more at outside pass rusher. Well, you know what Anthony Nelson does? He plays on every single special teams. Now, you can't play him all these reps on defense and expect him to run down there and cover kicks and punts all day. So now you're going to have to take somebody off the practice squad or, off the regular roster and say, you got to go play this special teams role. That affects your special teams. It's kind of a daisy chain effect. So, you want your best 53 on the field, and it's opportunity. You'd like to see more out of him, more out of Braswell. Yaya Diaby's off to a good start. But you're not going to have, your guys. I mean, it's tough when you lose, like you said, when you get kind of beat up at the same position all the time. But that's where they're at, and they got to find a way to get a win against New Orleans, a win, the team that Baker Mayfield loves to hate the most, which I'm sure he'll be welcomed when he comes onto the floor of the Superdome. Another loud venue. I don't know how many people are coming to the Saints games these days because they're really not good. They've got, one win, I think, so far, but they lost a bunch of games by a touchdown or less. I don't know what the atmosphere is going to be. Typically, it's very loud, pretty hostile. Not as bad as Detroit, my God. And they're
so
we're
going to get another video of Baker talking back to the fans as he walks.
I think so. I think you'll see signs. I think you'll see Baker doing some inappropriate things. Maybe I don't know what to expect because he called him out. He said that they're not. They do a lot of things that aren't clean or something of that nature, which is tantamount to calling them dirty, which they basically have a history of going back to Sean Payton and Bountygate. If you want to know the truth. And I'm sorry, but Saints fan came for Baker after he said those things the other day. They're all over my timeline, and it's just funny to me. It's like, oh yeah, what about Jameis Winston? Well, Jameis Winston, first of all, was beloved in Tampa, went to New Orleans, became the starter, and his buddy Devin White dragged him down. So it wasn't like, let's target Jameis. They loved Jameis Winston. It was unfortunate, and it sucked that it happened and blew out his knee. But I can remember Chris Godwin running across the middle of the field one year with Tom Brady, and their safety going low and targeting his knees and blowing out 3 knee ligaments. I can remember all the fights that Marshawn Lattimore had with Mike Evans, and it was like an old John. I don't even remember John Wayne, the old cowboy. You see these black and white cowboy movies. He'd walk into a bar, and he'd get into some kind of an altercation. And he's the biggest guy in the bar, and he goes, "I'm not gonna hit you. I'm not gonna hit you. Like hell, I'm not gonna hit you." And he smacked the guy and knocked him on the ground. And so it's kind of the way it was with Mike Evans. Hey, Mike, you're not going after Lattimore, right? No, I've learned my lesson. I can't hurt the team that way. I got to, bam, it's on. And so they've had quite the history, quite the altercations, and that will be the case again because, well, frankly, Baker likes it hot. Like Baker's coming off a bad game, his worst, the team's worst, and it's not enough just to go down there and kick the crap out of the worst team in the NFC South. No, 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 no. They needed that edge, right? They needed that edge. So Baker created it by basically saying earlier this offseason, I hate the Saints. And he reiterated that the other day when he basically said, yeah, I hate the Saints. So that's going on somebody's bulletin board rather quickly. And Saints fan on my timeline, at least, are losing their minds, you know. But that's the way he feels. And he feels that way because he had 2 roughing the passer penalties against the Saints on him, brutal hits near the goal line where he just got destroyed late. And so, I get it. Like, and at the very least, I think he's firing himself up by trying to fire them up. They're going to come out hot. I'm going to already be hot. Like, let's see who wins. I think that's just the method to his madness. But they're going to be gunning for him for sure. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I just don't. I think the Bucs strategically, like, they have a better football team, in my opinion. They need to do some different things though. Like they need to self scout and find ways to get the backs involved in the run game. This is the place where Sean Tucker went off, right? He had like 160 yards rushing, 50 something yards receiving. He was the NFC defensive player or offensive player of the week. And since then, he has done nada, bupkis, zero, zilch. And it's not really his fault. He's had better running backs in front of him, or has he? Like when Rachaad White sat out last year and it was Bucky and this guy, Sean Tucker wound up running for about, I don't know, 170 yards between, receiving and rushing and a couple of touchdowns. Like he was all over the place, all over the place. So, they got a chance to get him back involved, run it more than 12 times, in a game that you're not trailing by more than a touchdown or so. Be more balanced and let Baker, hopefully Baker can step into throws. Hopefully Baker, atones for what was not a great performance up there. By 7:00 or so, they should be able to sit there and go, you know what? If we win, we're a 6-2 football team, and that's pretty damn good. Like we'll take that every day. When the season began, we got losses to Philadelphia while they were playing well, and that was a close game to the very wire, even after we gave up a big lead. And then, of course, we lost to a really good Lions team on the road when they were coming off a loss at Kansas City. So there's no shame in any of that. You hope it doesn't cost them playoff seeding. But yeah, man, sign any of these guys and the coaching staff up for 6-2 at the bye and get a bye week, with these injuries.
And you get a
Perfect
bye
timing.
week in the middle of the season, which they haven't often had. Yeah,
no,
that's exactly what you want.
And the NFL, you don't think they choose winners and losers. They do, because the better teams, it always happens this way. When Brady was here, it happened that way. Their bye week is more in the middle, right? If there's 17 games, it might be at week 7 or 8. Like they're really, and the Bucs are fortunate that they got one of those middle of the road bye weeks. They've survived a lot of injuries. It'll give them an extra week to get people back, and I think they're going to be way better equipped to play in the second half of the season, where, by the way, the schedule gets easier too. Still got some tough teams up there. The Buffalo, at the Rams, those won't be easy. But all those division opponents. Carolina twice in 3 weeks. You got to take care of the Canalises, and Atlanta comes here and so forth. So a lot of football left, but this will be a big one. Because they need to atone for that loss. You don't want to be 5-3 and give somebody else your momentum going. That would be that's the definition of a long bye week. If you lose this game, oh man, it's going to feel like it was 3 months before you got on the field again. So they're confident. They're still a confident group. I think you're going to see some changes. I think Josh Grizzard's going to grow. I think you're going to see a lot more Sean Tucker, maybe a little bit less of Rachaad White. And hopefully they can protect Baker a little bit better than they did, in this last game. Because when he has time, he can step into his throw. I think you'll see Baker taking what's there, the checkdowns, I think you'll see him being content with moving the sticks and not maybe looking. He got so hot throwing the ball, and I don't like blame him, but I think he was just so hot that he felt like he could make every throw. And there were a few that frankly weren't good throws. So he's got to get back to that accuracy and all of that. I like him in this game, and I don't say that many times when you go to New Orleans. Like, you go to New Orleans, it's usually like, I don't know, man. Like they're kind of a loud bunch, but they're older. I mean, Demario Davis is probably my age. Like, he went to Arkansas State. Like, they've got some really, Jordan. They got some really older players, but those old players, can get under the skin of the Bucs. I've never seen a team in this division or maybe in the league that gets deliberately gets under the sticks or under the skin of a team like the Saints do with the Bucs. It just brings out the worst in everybody. So, but looking forward to it. Should be a great weekend. Hey, we got your mailbag questions coming up. But first, go see our friends at Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. You want to know what time it is? It's time for you to get down there and find the best watch you have ever owned. Now, the Breitling Company has been in business for over 140 years. They've been in International Plaza for going on to 6 years right now. And if you go down there, take your time. It's in the center of the mall, second floor. Customer service, yeah, second to none. Trust me on this one. They're going to tell you all about their product. You don't have to know everything. They're going to tell you about the men's watches, the chronomats, the Navatimers, ladies' watches. These are sports watches. They're absolutely beautiful. They come in an array of different colored wristbands. She's going to love it, whether your wife, your girlfriend, you name it. And while supplies last, and that is the key because they are going fast. They are doing a special with the NFL, 32 different team watches. These are the beautiful Chronomat watches. On the watch, it's the face of the watch is the team colors, the logo, you name it, they've got it. It is Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. What are you waiting for? When you get down here, make sure you let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day, Tampa Bay. All right, we got some mailbag questions to wrap up the week. Let's get started.
All right, Greg asks, how close are the Bucs to a Super Bowl? If Jason Licht does little to improve the pass rush, isn't that a sign that he doesn't think they're as close as some of us think?
It's a great question. I think a lot of it depends on health. I think the two teams I've covered that won Super Bowls are two of the healthiest football teams I think the Bucs have ever had. And I don't think that's a coincidence, to be honest with you. 2002, trying to think like who were the major players they may have lost to injury that year. And the answer is I have no clue. It was Booger McFarland. I mean, Booger McFarland got hurt in Detroit. He couldn't play. And so they were without Booger for the Super Bowl, still a Super Bowl champion, and he got one with the Colts as well after that. I don't know. If you don't go after a pass rusher, I think what it says is what it's always said to me, and that is that Jason Licht really, really, really values his draft picks. Like, not at the expense of the Super Bowl, but are you really making the best deal you can make? If there's a fire sale and there's somebody that can help them, absolutely bring him in. But what's his contract status? How much compensation are we going to have to give up? I still think that their MO is to, coach these guys up better, the ones that we have, whether that's Braswell or whomever. I tend to think that that's what they're going to do. But if they deem themselves a Super Bowl contender, and they should, if you think you're that close, and an edge rusher can put you over the top, and those guys aren't growing on trees, then yeah, maybe go get one. Maybe go get one. And I can just remember when they made, it wasn't at the mid-year point, but when they made a trade for Jason Pierre-Paul, and you're like, okay, they gave up some compensation there. What does this guy have left? I don't know if he's any good. Well, he was still good, So you got to evaluate them as they come. But the other part, and I don't know that these guys are available, I would be very cautious with the Bucs middle linebackers. I think they're vulnerable. Servassier Dennis does not do well in open spaces. He's getting, juked out of his shoes for 50-yard catch and runs. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that, but they've got some holes and they can address them. The fact is, just go back though and look and tell me how many how many trades has Jason Licht made before the deadline? I think the answer is maybe none. He just doesn't do it. And most of the time when teams call you, they're trying to dump salary. They're trying to dump players that aren't very good anymore. So it's a buyer beware system to begin with. These are their guys. And I would look at it this way. If they don't make deals, right, where are they going to get help? They're going to get help from all their injured players. Like getting those guys back the way I think they're going to week after week after week is going to be great. So we'll see if they do it. But yeah, I understand needing to help the pass rush. I do. I just don't know, like, first of all, who's making the elite guys available and what is it they want? 2 number ones, like they're not giving these guys away.
All right, Michael asks, in the NFL, the standard for reversing a call on replay review is, quote, clear and obvious visual evidence, end quote, that the ruling on the field was incorrect. When did that change to New York is allowed to guess?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It was an unprecedented situation up there in Detroit where if you missed it, K-Dot catches the ball, looks like he made the yard to gain, stretches out, puts the balls kind of on the sticks. They review it. They called it a first down, and then it's like, okay, here comes the challenge flag. And so they went over under the tent or whatever they call it, and they looked and they looked and they looked. And I don't know what they saw, but I do know this. They didn't see enough to overturn, to really overturn it. And so they had ruled it a catch. And right, this is the one to Kate Otten, and that he had the line to gain. But they announced that, after looking at the film, the player number, 88, whatever, had the catch, had possession of the ball, and did reach the line to gain. And I heard it with my own ears, And then before, because I'm listening to the broadcast, they start to walk out, and then they get called back. By whom? What? Like, who's this nebulous, voice of God that brings those guys back after they've already done their jobs? And allegedly, they looked at it again. They told Todd they found a better angle. And he's like, what does that mean? Like, you can't go look, you can't review the review. Like, but he didn't want to get fined. I understand he hadn't talked bad about him or anything like that. The weirdest call, just a horribly weird call. It just didn't, yeah. It doesn't get much worse than that, but that was what they had to live with. It didn't cost them points. It cost them time off the clock, as Baker said. And hopefully this crew will be better. That's all you can hope for. But yeah, that was unprecedented. Just unprecedented that you would do that to a group like that.
Ellis had asked, if you would have just shown me the injury list from this season and asked me to guess the Bucs record, I would say they hadn't won more than 2 games. What makes this team different?
It's a great question. I part of me thinks that they got a really hot quarterback who was clutch very early in the year, like the 2-minute drives after 2-minute drives after 2-minute drives. Forget everybody else. You got to have a cast. The quarterback's still the most dependent position. You can't throw it unless there's blocking. You can't complete it unless somebody catches it, and so on. But he got off to a hot start, and I think it's a credit to him. He intentionally protected the ball better. Interceptions were going to be out of his game. You had to beat him. He made incredible throws, and mostly he was just damn good in the 2-minute drill. Like, he's damn good at it. Like, he's, I think at one point, 4 for 4. And to me, if you have the guy under center, you have a chance. Everybody looks at him, and every night, before the game, they go, do we have a chance to win this? Oh, yeah, we got Baker. And it was that way with Brady, and I'm not comparing him, but I just did. When I would go to a stadium, it didn't matter who the Bucs were playing. I felt like, yeah, you know what? Bucs are probably going to win this game. They probably have a really good chance. They didn't win them all. But I think if you're on this team, you probably feel like that's the case, even though you've had a couple hiccups. So I think it's the maturity. It's the blend of old, experienced, unselfish Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, how hard they work to get back from injuries, importing all their knowledge on the younger receivers that are going out there and performing right away because they got the answers to the test. And these young guys in particular have really stepped up, and they've had a lot of key players go down, but a lot of key players haven't gone down. You know what I mean? Like there's still plenty here after the offensive line shuffle. I'm okay with Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. That's where he should be playing. Like I'm okay, if everybody's back in their positions and you've got 3/5 of your line or 4/5 of your offensive line intact. I'm even okay if Bucky Irving isn't there if I can turn to Rachaad White. The story of the year for the Bucs on offense have been these young receivers stepping up. I mean, Cam Johnson, Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard, like what? So, for them to do that, and at some point they're going to get Godwin back. Emeka has been a godsend. I just think that it's a group that likes each other. They've been through some stuff. It's a nice mix of the ages, and they got a hot quarterback. Name me a team, right? The Chiefs, the Bills, hell, even the Cowboys, that you don't feel they have a chance until you realize who the quarterback is, and that's why they're winning. Like it's just such a big part of it. And the Bucs have their guy, and he loves it here, and he's got good coaching, and he's just got a clutch gene. He's got a clutch gene. It's not, again, they're not the most dominant team, but they're a solid, 6-win team. They're soon to be perhaps. But yeah, it's talent. It's players over plays. It always will be. But the mixture of veterans, guys that have won Super Bowls that are in their 4th and 5th years, and then a really young group of guys that are talented is what they have right now.
All right, Brantley had emailed you. He says, I know we talk about Evans, Wirfs, and Winfield as either Hall of Fame locks or strong possibilities. What is Vita Vea's chances to be a Hall of Famer? He's a Super Bowl champion who is consistent in a game record. Thank you for being my number one source for Tampa sports.
Thank you for listening. I don't know what Vita's chances are. Longevity will help him from a number standpoint. He has a good number of sacks, but he's not Warren Sapp, right? Nor does he pretend to be. His game's not the same. It's hard. It's hard to get in the Hall of Fame. Evans, yes. Wirfs, most definitely if he plays 8 or 9, 10 years. I thought Winfield Jr. until last year, and he got hurt. And so you can't really blame him on the injuries for having a step-off year last year. But he hasn't really bounced back. So I would have told you Wirfs and Winfield are going to make the Hall of Fame. I knew Evans would, but I think I would stop there. And right now, I would say Winfield trending no.
Trending no, but that could change quickly. I mean, if he
in a heartbeat, yes, he's a young player coming off a major injury that last year was a wash. With 9 games, didn't play well, hurt the whole time. Got to throw it away. So I think he has a chance. I would like to see him start to make plays like this week. This was the week he came back a year ago. He'd been out, and he scooped and scored a 50-yard fumble recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe getting back at the Big Easy will help him. But Vita Vea, Hall of Famer, I've never heard that speech. It's because there's no one really like him. Like, he may not get many sacks, but, man, he can humanly absolutely fold a protection scheme.
Yeah, I think he's a tough one for the Hall of Fame as it stands now because he just doesn't put up the numbers. Warren Sapp had great numbers.
Relative to Hall of Famers.
Aaron Donald, who's going to get in the Hall of Fame.
John Randall, Aaron Donald, Warren Sapp, those are unicorns.
Vea's
but that's who's in the Hall of Fame.
Numbers. Right, but when the guys who don't watch Vita Vea every day are in that room deciding,
you're just looking at stats.
You're looking at how many sacks, he's just not going to have those numbers. It doesn't mean he's not as good as those other guys. Just
right.
The way this defense is, he eats up the middle so that everybody else can go eat.
I'll be willing to say that Vita Vea is the most underrated player on this football team. And I know people know him, and I know he makes Pro Bowls and stuff like that. But how's he underrated? I'm just saying, Joe Bag of Donuts there at breakfast down the street does not really key in on who 50 is. May have heard the name, but and maybe it's the market, but he doesn't get nearly enough credit. Like I said, I sat down with Todd Bowles before the season, and we were in Pittsburgh. One day I was doing my preseason magazine stuff, and we started talking about players, and we got to Vita Vea, and he said something to the effect, and I quote, like, we can't play without Vita Vea. He goes, I cannot have we can't play without this guy.
He didn't have another chess piece there.
No, he says there's no one, Rick. There's no one like him. Like I can't replace him. I can replace all the other guys if I have to. I have nobody for Vita Vea. Not he's indispensable. He said.
Well, even think back to the Super Bowl year. I mean, Scotty Miller makes the Super Bowl. Scotty Miller makes the catch to beat Green Bay, but it was Vita Vea's return.
No question. 33 snaps, not a stat. Recorded 0 tackles and 0 assists and 0 pressures. He absolutely pushed the pocket into Rodgers' lap, made him flush right, flush left. They got five snacks on him that day. 5 sacks. So, and he did that. Had not played. Broken leg, coming off of it. So, yeah, a healthy Vita Vea, man. He's pretty good. I just don't think he's going to Hall of Fame.
All right, one last question here, and we'll switch sports as the World Series gets ready to start tonight.
Oh, yeah.
The Dodgers and the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
Les had said, Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell are in the World Series, and not with the Rays, of course. Which trade was worse for the Rays? Seemed like the Rays are starting to lose more of these.
I would say that of all the trades they've made, and Glasnow got hurt, I think, after he got to the Dodgers for a bit. Of all the trades they've made, the one that got away was Blake Snell. Don't think they got the prospects that that developed into what they needed.
And I don't think there's one left in the system anymore.
I don't think there's one from the trade. And at minimum, they denied themselves another Cy Young Award. He's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. He's going to win a World Series this year, ironically, with the Dodgers when he could have won one against the Dodgers. And, I just think that, for all the pitching they traded away and the ones they kept and the ones they paid, in hindsight, which is always 2020, but Blake Snell was the deal. Like and unfortunately, the Rays' relationship with Blake Snell will always be defined by Kevin Cash walking out in the 6th inning of Game 5 and telling Snell, who was dealing, they weren't touching him, but say, "Give me the baseball." Those words to take Snell out of that game was catastrophic.
The body language of the Dodgers went from, we're going to Game 7 to, we got this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it didn't matter who was throwing next. It just wasn't that guy.
Nope.
That guy was on fire. And they didn't care who towed the rubber next. Please get Blake out of this game.
Yep. And the Glasnow trade, let's not forget, they got Pepio back, who's a pretty good pitcher.
Ryan reminds me of Glasnow.
Definitely better than Patino, who they got that was the big piece of the Snell trade. There was a lot of other pieces, but that was the big one. Pepio is showing a lot more promise than Patino. We don't know what Johnny DeLuca has. He was part of that trade too.
Yeah, he's been hurt. So now,
so don't know that part of it. But the Pepio part, he's been pretty good. Matter of fact, for a while you would have said Pepio was doing better than Glasnow, mostly because Glasnow had been hurt.
He was injured. Yeah.
So I think the Snell trade has not worked out for them.
No, that's the one you pay.
The Rays still win more of them than they lose.
Oh yeah,
and to be honest, as a GM, you're not trying to win a trade.
Or sometimes you just want both teams to come out well.
You're trying to improve your team,
right?
Like, and if you screw other teams, they're going to stop trading.
They're not going to deal with you. But if both teams are happy and both get better as a result, then that's the way you stay in business.
And the thing about prospects are, they're. Jason Licht loves his draft picks, but there's no guarantee they're gonna materialize. Same with prospects.
But he does love his prospects.
He does. And he's been very successful of late.
He doesn't make trades. Like everybody asks me, like, what are you gonna do at the trading deadline? I don't know. Have you paid attention? What was the last person they traded for at the deadline?
I don't expect him to make a trade, but if the right deal comes along, I think he'd pull the trigger.
Oh, sure.
But it's
He'll
got to be
make
the
the
right
calls.
person for the right price.
Yeah. He's going to make the calls.
Yeah. If Max Crosby becomes available, and the Raiders have said they're not trading him, but if he does, and the price is right,
yeah,
would Jason pull the trigger? Yes.
The problem is when you pick up the phone, that price just went up.
Yep.
There's one guy I would say maybe
although you
they
do
could
know
get.
a guy there. You do know, hey, can you help a little bit?
Yeah, right.
You know a couple guys there, the owner, the GM,
That's true. There's one guy that I think would make sense for them. But again, who's coming off the field? Especially if you got an injury, which they don't have currently. How about Bradley Chubb? Now, he makes a lot of money, but if you could rent him for half a season that Miami's already paid half his salary, I would consider an edge rusher at this point. I don't know that there's an inside linebacker available.
I was going to say, is inside linebacker not a bigger need than pass rush? Depending on when does
if I see one more check down that goes 50 yards, yes.
So I mean, when does Haason Reddick come back? And what?
I don't know. I don't know. And what is he so far?
The Bucs may know that. We don't, but the Bucs do.
Well, I think he's not going to be back until after the bye week.
Sure,
and then some.
Sure. But okay, so he misses this week, fine. But I mean,
probably a couple more.
If Haason Reddick comes back after the bye or a week after it, whatever, is inside linebacker not a bigger need for this team?
Yeah. And you'd like to think that Haason will get better, but he's sitting here with 1.5 sacks.
But I think he's helped Yaya Diaby get to his 4.5.
He has. He's got 4.5. He's certainly getting the double teams away from him.
Like what I worry about like this week is without Haason Reddick, is Yaya Diaby good enough to be your number one pass rusher? Because Haason Reddick takes a lot of pressure off Yaya.
Well, they're going to roll coverage. They're going to roll blocking to his side.
Well, sure, but so I'm saying. So I expect Yaya not to be as effective. So then who's opposite Yaya? I mean, and that's that's been the issue with the edge rushers on this team is if Yaya or Haason goes, because I don't think Yaya is a number one pass rusher yet. I think he needs that guy on the other side like Haason Reddick or another top.
Yeah, he's trending. I mean, he's still a young player, but
I'm not saying he won't get there. I'm saying he's not there yet.
But if you get 10 sacks out of him this year, that hasn't happened in a long time here.
Absolutely. But
he's on path for it.
But much like Jason Pierre-Paul made the guys opposite him much better.
But he needed somebody on the other side. Last year, he got all the double teams, triple teams, chipping, all that.
That's what I'm saying. With Haason Reddick there, if Haason Reddick's healthy, to me, inside linebacker is a bigger need than pass rush.
You just put cutout.
I think the pass rush isn't good enough, but
put a cutout of Haason Reddick out there, you might get more attention. I mean, at this point, but I don't know. They're not getting to the court. Although, look, the last 2 games, however you dialed it up, they have 10 sacks.
Mm-hmm. No question.
Case, you'll take that. You're good. 5 a game. Let's go.
Yeah,
you'll lead the NFL. So maybe they're starting to come around a little bit, but they need Braswell to step up. They need Nelson to hold the fort. They need, they got to have all that. You got to have all that. But yeah, look, this team is going to address the inside linebacker position. They could have this year. They decided not to. It's hurting them. However, you got to Emeka Egbuka. Okay. We're good with that. We'll make that trade for now. But this is unsustainable with Servassier Dennis and with Levante David. Levante's year to year. This might be his last year.
Yep.
I would say it probably is, depending on the outcome of the season. Probably is. He's not been able to practice. He's hurt all the time, but he gives you everything he's got. And and I think he's a Hall of Fame player. However, those guys have to quit sometime. He's 35. And then Dennis has not demonstrated to me with all the attempts and chances he's gotten that he can cover a guy in the flat and get him on the ground. Like, you cannot give up big plays when all they have to do is check it down. So until or unless he changes that, I mean, that I would go hard and heavy and often on inside linebacker. You've got to get faster. Levante has lost a step. He used to be the great eraser when Devin White would shoot the gap and be wrong. Levante David could cover him and run down the guy. Now he doesn't have that burst. And so, again, great player. Don't want to pull on Superman's cape here, but you're going to need some inside linebackers. You really are. All right, so it should be a great week, of course, with the Buccaneers playing at New Orleans. A bye week after that. Speaking of bye weeks, man, both Florida and Florida State on bye weeks, but there's a big game for USF.
Yeah, they're at Memphis, noon start on Saturday, so a huge game for them. They win that game, they stay undefeated in the American. Them and Navy are the two undefeated teams in the conference, and keep marching on towards the college football playoff, hopefully.
It's awesome, man. Byron Brown's been terrific.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, man, are you kidding me? Byron Brown.
Yep.
He's been great. You can run the football, throw the football. Their defense, they got some dogs on that defense. Putting up 60 against the teams, and it's crazy. Yep. But they got it going over there. So, yeah, good week of football. Bucs at New Orleans, looking forward to going to the Big Easy.
Yep. Lightning
we'll
have 2 home games this weekend.
Oh, the Lightning, that's right.
Anaheim and Vegas, both 5 o'clock starts Saturday and Sunday. So,
ooh, Las Vegas, baby. That should be good. Yep. Those are good games. They got to start winning. They got to start winning at home. They got to start winning games, getting 2 points.
Yep.
It's time for them to get going. So we'll have all of that for you on Monday. Thanks for listening. As always, go see our friends at Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Check out all the great watches, including 32-team NFL team watches while supplies last. Breitling Boutique, International Plaza. Let them know you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great weekend, everybody.